Captain Alex Morgan stood on the bridge of the U.S. Vanguard, his eyes fixed on the main view screen. 3 alien ships hung against the backdrop of stars, their hulls reflecting the distant sunlight in strange patterns. They had appeared without warning at the edge of the solar system, emerging from what sensors called a spatial anomaly. "Any response to our hails?" Alex asked, his voice calm despite the tension filling the bridge. Lieutenant Lisa Winters shook her head, blonde hair shifting slightly under the bright lights. "Nothing yet, Captain. Wait, incoming transmission." The view screen flickered, revealing a reptilian face with gleaming yellow eyes and scales that shifted between green and blue. The alien's mouth opened, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "Greetings, humans. I am Commander Kresh Tull of the Zonteri Conclave. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations with your species." Alex nodded respectfully. "This is Captain Alex Morgan of the United Earth Defense Force. We welcome peaceful contact. May I ask what brings you to our system?" The alien's smile didn't reach its eyes. "Trade opportunities, cultural exchange, the usual benefits of interstellar relations." While the conversation continued, Chief Engineer Doug Rivera approached Alex and whispered, "Captain, they're scanning us. Deep scans. They're looking at everything. Weapons, shields, propulsion." Alex kept his expression neutral. "Commander Kresh Tull, our protocols request that ships conducting scans ask permission first." The alien's scales darkened slightly. "A misunderstanding. We meant no offense." Lisa moved closer to Alex, keeping her voice low. "Captain, I'm detecting energy buildups in their forward sections, and they're positioning their ships to create a triangular formation." Alex had been in enough battles to recognize a tactical positioning when he saw one. "Mr. Rivera, activate defensive systems." Quietly. "Yes, sir," Rivera replied, fingers moving swiftly across his console. Communications Officer Maria Diaz suddenly straightened in her chair. "Captain, I'm picking up transmissions between their vessels and somewhere else. They're encrypted, but I'm catching fragments about human defenses and primary targets." Lisa's console beeped urgently. "Sir, they're targeting the Europa outpost. That's a civilian research station with over 300 people." Alex's jaw tightened. Red alert. Shields up. The bridge lighting shifted to a deep red as warning signals sounded throughout the ship. The Zonteri commander's image disappeared from the view screen. "They've cut communications," Maria reported. "Sir, they're charging weapons," Lisa said, her eyes never leaving her tactical display. Alex took his command chair, gripping the armrests. "It seems our first contact is going to be a baptism by fire. Target the lead vessel. Defensive pattern Delta." The Vanguard moved with surprising agility for its size, beginning a series of evasive maneuvers that had been programmed by the best tactical minds on Earth. "Incoming," Lisa shouted. Brilliant green energy beams lanced from all 3 alien ships, converging on the Vanguard. The bridge crew braced for impact. Nothing happened. QLS shields holding at 98%, Rivera reported with a hint of surprise in his voice. The quantum-layered shielding system was still experimental, and this was its first real combat test. The aliens fired again. And again. Each time, the shields flickered slightly but remained intact. They seemed confused. Maria noted, monitoring their communications. "They're asking each other why their weapons aren't working." Alex allowed himself a small smile. "Let's show them what happens when you threaten human civilians. Mr. Harper, target their weapon systems with the gravity lance. Low power setting." Tactical Officer Ben Harper nodded. "Targeting locked, sir. Gravity lance charged. Fire." A nearly invisible distortion left the Vanguard, striking the lead Zonteri ship. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The alien vessel crumpled inward as if squeezed by a giant hand, its hull buckling under forces it was never designed to withstand. "The other ships are powering up their drives," Lisa reported. "They're trying to retreat." Alex stood up. Target their engines. Don't let them leave. If they escape, they'll come back with reinforcements. As the Vanguard moved to intercept, Alex felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Humanity's first contact with alien life had turned hostile in minutes. What happened next would shape Earth's place in the galaxy for generations to come. 2 years earlier, Dr. Jason Cole sat alone in his lab. Papers covered with complex equations were scattered across his desk. Empty coffee cups told the story of late nights and early mornings. The scientific community had rejected his ideas. They called him crazy. Impossible, they said. A waste of resources. Jason ran his hand through his messy brown hair and sighed. His computer screen showed simulations of his quantum-layered shielding. The numbers worked. The theory was sound, but no one would listen. The door to his lab slid open. Admiral Samantha Kelly walked in, her uniform crisp and her posture perfect. Jason scrambled to stand. "Dr. Cole," she said, "I've read your papers, all of them." Jason blinked in surprise. "You have?" The Admiral nodded. "I understand about 60% of it. That's enough to know you're onto something big." "The rest of the Defense Council disagrees," Jason said bitterly. "The Defense Council sees budgets and politics. I see potential." She placed a small device on his desk. It projected a hologram of a sleek warship. "This is the Vanguard, currently under construction in the lunar shipyards. I want your technology on it." Jason's eyes widened. "You're serious?" "Black budget. Off the books. I need weapons and defenses that will give us an edge when, not if, we meet hostile forces out there." Her eyes were hard as steel. "Can you deliver?" Present day, aboard the Vanguard, Chief Engineer Doug Rivera monitored the quantum-layered shields as they absorbed another barrage from the remaining Zonteri ships. "Shields holding at 95%, Doug reported. He felt a surge of pride. 2 years of working alongside Dr. Cole had paid off. The technology was performing even better than their simulations predicted. Captain Alex Morgan nodded. "Status of the Gravity Lance." "Recharged and ready," Tactical Officer Ben Harper replied. His targeting algorithm had worked perfectly on the first ship. The Gravity Lance had crushed its weapons systems without destroying the vessel completely. "Target the second ship's propulsion systems," Alex ordered. "We need answers, and we can't get them from wreckage." Ben's fingers danced across his console. Targeting locked. "Fire." The Lance fired again. The second Zonteri ship spun wildly as its engines were crushed by the localized gravitational distortion. "The third ship is making a run for it," Lieutenant Lisa Winters called out. "They're charging some kind of jump drive." Alex made a quick decision. "Target their communications array. We can't let them call for help." The Gravity Lance fired a third time. The beam caught the edge of the fleeing ship, tearing away its communications equipment in a shower of metal and energy. "Direct hit," Ben reported with satisfaction. "Good work," Alex said. "Now let's secure these vessels and find out what the Zonteri really wanted." The next few hours were busy. Security teams boarded the disabled alien ships. The Zonteri crew members were placed in the Vanguard's brig. The alien technology was studied carefully. In his quarters, Alex reviewed the preliminary reports. The Zonteri were part of a larger group called the Galactic Confederation. They had been tasked with assessing Earth's defenses. What they found, a single ship guarding the outer system, had seemed like an easy target. Admiral Kelly's face appeared on Alex's screen. "Report, Captain." Alex explained what had happened. The Admiral's expression remained neutral, but her eyes showed concern. "This changes everything," she said finally. "If these Zonteri are part of a larger group, we could be facing an invasion." Alex finished for her. "Or worse." The Admiral looked tired. "The Vanguard was supposed to be a test bed, a prototype. We needed more time before showing our hand. We didn't have a choice." Alex reminded her. "I know." She straightened her shoulders. "I'm sending you all the data we have on the Gravity Lance and QA systems. Study it. Know it inside and out. You're our first line of defense now." After the call ended, Alex stared at the technical schematics filling his screen. The quantum equations were beyond his understanding, but he didn't need to be a scientist to appreciate what they meant. The Vanguard wasn't just a warship. It was a revolution in military technology, and they had just revealed it to the galaxy. News of the Vanguard's victory spread fast. Within days, alien communication channels buzzed with talk of the human ship that defeated 3 Zonteri vessels. The Zonteri leaders were angry. They demanded action from their allies in the Galactic Confederation. Alex sat in the Vanguard's briefing room. The holographic display showed 50 alien warships moving toward Earth's solar system. Ships from 7 different species, all part of the Confederation, all coming for them. "They'll reach Neptune's orbit in 6 hours, Lisa said. Her face looked tired. None of the bridge crew had slept much since the first battle. 7 species working together, Communications Officer Maria Diaz noted. "I've been studying their transmissions. They call us primitive savages who got lucky. They're coming to make an example of us." Alex frowned. "Any word from Earth?" Admiral Kelly's face appeared on the main screen. "Captain Morgan, you have new orders. Defend Earth at all costs, but avoid unnecessary casualties if possible." 50 ships against 1, Admiral," Alex replied. "Those are tough odds." Kelly's expression hardened. "The Vanguard was built for tough odds, Captain. We have civilian ships evacuating the outer colonies now. You need to buy them time." "Understood, Admiral." Vanguard out. When the screen went dark, Alex looked at his crew. These were people he had trained with, laughed with, and now might die with. Doug was adjusting engine settings. Ben was running combat simulations. Lisa was studying the enemy formations. Maria was monitoring all communication channels. "Listen up," Alex said. "We're outnumbered. They're angry. But we have 2 advantages. 1, they don't fully understand our technology. 2, they don't know what humans are capable of when our backs are against the wall." He pointed to the tactical display. "Ben, I want new targeting solutions. Focus on their command ships. Maria, keep monitoring their communications. I want to know the moment their plans change. Doug, I need everything you can give me from the engines and shields. Lisa, plot an intercept course." His crew moved with purpose. No one mentioned the odds. No one talked about failure. 6 hours later, the Vanguard faced the alien armada near Neptune's blue glow. The enemy ships formed a half-circle, weapons charged and ready. "They're hailing us," Maria reported. A purple-skinned alien appeared on screen. Tentacles framed its face like hair. "Human vessel. This is High Commander Zulvac of the Galactic Confederation. Your unprovoked attack on Zonteri ships will not go unpunished. Surrender now or be destroyed." Alex stood tall. "This is Captain Alex Morgan of the U.S. Vanguard. The Zonteri fired first and targeted our civilian outpost. We defended ourselves, nothing more." "Lies," the alien commander hissed. "The Zonteri are valued members of the Confederation. Your primitive species is barely out of its gravity well. You cannot stand against us." The screen went dark. "They're moving to attack positions," Lisa warned. Alex took his seat. "Battle stations. Activate QLS at maximum power. Charge the gravity lance." The enemy fired first. Hundreds of energy beams and projectiles raced toward the Vanguard. The shields flared bright blue, but held strong. "Return fire," Alex ordered. "Target the lead vessel." The gravity lance fired. Space itself seemed to bend around the beam. The lead ship, nearly twice the size of the Vanguard, crumpled like paper. Ships nearby spun out of control, caught in the gravitational distortion. The aliens adjusted quickly. They spread out, trying to surround the Vanguard. "They're targeting our flank," Lisa called out. "Evasive pattern Delta 3, Alex responded. "Ben, target the ship at coordinates 227 Mark 48. The Vanguard moved with surprising speed for a vessel its size. The gravity lance fired again, and another alien ship was crushed. "Sir, they're launching some kind of missiles," Lisa reported. "Hundreds of them." "Doug, can the shields handle it?" Alex asked. The engineer nodded. "The QLS will hold, Captain. Let them waste their ammunition." As the battle continued, a strange thing happened. The crew of the Vanguard stopped being afraid. The fight that should have been their last stand was turning into something else entirely. It was turning into a miracle. The battle near Neptune had raged for 3 hours. The once neat formation of alien ships was now chaos. 15 enemy vessels drifted in space, their systems dead. 5 more had been completely destroyed, reduced to floating debris. The rest continued their attack, growing more desperate with each passing minute. Inside the Vanguard, Ben Harper watched his tactical display. The gravity lance had exceeded all expectations. It didn't just damage ships, it warped space-time around them. A direct hit could crush a cruiser like an empty can. Even a near miss could send ships spiraling into each other. "Captain," Ben said, "I've been studying their movement patterns. Their ships in the upper quadrant are protecting something." He pointed to his screen. "See how they keep that formation no matter what?" Alex studied the display. "A command ship." "I think so," Ben nodded. "And if we hit it here," he indicated a spot, "the gravitational ripple will disable their entire left flank." Alex didn't hesitate. "Do it." Ben's fingers flew across his console, inputting the targeting coordinates. The gravity lance charged with a low hum. "Fire." The beam shot out, invisible except for how it bent light around it. It struck exactly where Ben had planned. The hidden command ship's shields failed instantly. Then the ship itself began to fold inward, metal screaming as it bent in ways it was never meant to. The gravitational distortion spread outward like ripples in a pond. 7 nearby ships lost power and drifted helplessly. Direct hit. Ben couldn't keep the excitement from his voice. "Good work," Alex said. "Lisa, status report." Lieutenant Winters checked her readouts. Shield strength at 82%. Minor damage to decks 12 through 14. No casualties. She looked up with a small smile. "We're holding." "Sir." The remaining alien ships changed tactics. 3 of the largest vessels moved forward, engines burning hot. "They're on a collision course," Lisa warned. "Suicide run." "Evasive maneuvers," Alex ordered. The Vanguard turned sharply, but the alien ships adjusted their course. "We can't outrun all 3, Doug said from engineering. "Not at this range." Alex made a quick decision. Full power to forward shields. Target the center ship with the gravity lance. Maximum setting. The Vanguard's engines roared as it turned to face the oncoming threat. The gravity lance fired again, the power drain causing the lights to dim momentarily. The center ship didn't just crumple, it imploded, creating a gravitational well that pulled the other 2 ships off course. They collided with each other in a bright explosion. "Status?" Alex asked. "Shields down to 63%, Doug reported. The lance needs 2 minutes to recharge after that blast." Something new appeared on the tactical display. A massive energy buildup from the largest remaining alien vessel. "Sir," Maria called out from communications, "I'm picking up chatter. They're activating something called a planet killer weapon." Lisa's face paled. "Confirmed. Energy readings are off the charts." Alex stood from his chair. "Can we destroy it before it fires?" Ben shook his head. "The lance isn't ready yet." "Then we need to block it." Alex turned to Doug. "Engineer, route all power to the forward shields, including life support and gravity. We have 5 minutes of air. Make it count." The lights dimmed. The artificial gravity failed, causing loose objects to float. The crew secured themselves to their stations as Alex counted down the seconds. The alien weapon fired. A beam of energy so bright it was painful to look at Lance toward the Vanguard. It struck the reinforced shields head-on. For a moment, nothing happened. Then alarms blared. Shields at 29%, Doug shouted. They're holding, but barely. The beam continued for 30 seconds, then stopped. The alien ship seemed to go dormant, its power drained. Gravity lance recharged, Ben reported. Target that ship and fire, Alex ordered. Then restore ship systems. The lance fired one last time. The giant alien vessel broke apart, its spine severed by the gravitational forces. As lights and gravity returned to normal, Alex surveyed the battlefield. More than half the alien fleet was destroyed or disabled. The rest were retreating, jumping away to safety. We did it, Lisa said softly. We actually did it. Alex nodded, but his expression remained serious. We won the battle. But the war? That's just beginning. News of the battle spread across the galaxy faster than light. The Galactic Confederation had never suffered such a defeat. 43 vessels destroyed or disabled by a single ship from a species that had only recently achieved faster-than-light travel. It was unthinkable. Emergency sessions were called in the Great Hall of the Confederation. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered to discuss the human threat. Fears spread through their ranks. If one human ship could do this much damage, what could an entire fleet do? On Earth, the mood was mixed. People celebrated the victory, but military leaders worried about what would come next. They knew the Confederation wouldn't simply accept defeat. Admiral Kelly stood before the United Earth Defense Council. The large room was filled with generals, admirals, and civilian leaders from every major nation. The Vanguard performed beyond our expectations, she said, but our success has created a new problem. We've shown our hand too early. A general from the Chinese delegation leaned forward. Can we build more ships like the Vanguard? Kelly nodded. Dr. Cole's team is already working on improvements. We could have 5 more ships within 6 months, possibly a fleet within 2 years. And if the aliens return before then? Asked a representative from the African Union. Then we make our stand with what we have, Kelly replied. The Vanguard is being repaired as we speak. At the same time, aboard the massive space station that served as the Confederation's diplomatic hub, Ambassador Julia Ortiz felt very small. Earth had only been granted observer status in the Confederation 3 months ago. Now she stood before the High Council, 7 aliens who represented the founding species of the galactic government. Ambassador Ortiz began Silvox, the High Speaker. His blue skin shimmered under the bright lights. Your species has much to answer for. Julia kept her posture straight and her voice steady. My species defended itself against unprovoked aggression. The Zonteri fired first, targeting a civilian research station. A misunderstanding, said another council member, a being with 4 arms and insect-like features. A misunderstanding that nearly cost 300 human lives, Julia countered. She activated a small device that projected images above the council table. This is the data from the battle. It clearly shows the Zonteri ships firing first. The council members studied the images. Julia knew they weren't really interested in who fired first. They were interested in the technology that allowed a single human ship to defeat their fleet. Your gravity weapons, Silvox said finally. They violate the natural order. No single species should wield such power. We didn't come here seeking conflict, Julia replied. Earth wants peaceful relations with the Confederation, but we will defend ourselves if attacked. What she didn't tell them was that back on Earth, construction had already begun on a dozen Vanguard-class ships. Shipyards on the Moon and Mars worked around the clock. Dr. Cole and his team had developed new improvements to the gravity lance, making it even more powerful. After hours of questioning, Julia was dismissed from the council chamber. As she walked back to her quarters, her communication device beeped. It was a secure message from Admiral Kelly. Hold firm, the message read. We're preparing for any outcome. The Vanguard is just the beginning. Julia deleted the message and looked out a viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Vanguard was patrolling the borders of human space, a single ship that had changed humanity's place in the galaxy forever. In a secret facility beneath the Mariana Trench, Dr. Jason Cole stared at his computer screen. The new designs were ready. Improvements to the quantum-layered shielding, a more efficient gravity lance, engines that could outrun anything in the Confederation fleet. They think the Vanguard is dangerous now, he whispered to himself. They haven't seen anything yet. 3 weeks after the battle at Neptune, the decree came down. All 317 member species of the Galactic Confederation voted unanimously. The High Speaker Xilbox delivered the message himself, his face filling screens across Earth. Humanity is hereby banned from constructing vessels exceeding Threat Category 2. The ship designated Vanguard must be decommissioned immediately. Earth will remain under probationary quarantine until compliance is verified. People gathered in town squares and city centers to watch. Some shouted in anger. Others stood in worried silence. No one knew what probationary quarantine really meant. In her office at Defense Command, Admiral Kelly watched the broadcast with a stone face. When it ended, she pressed a button on her desk. "Send the message," she said simply. Minutes later, every human settlement and ship in the solar system received her response. "We acknowledge their concerns. We will appear to comply." The key word was appear. Behind closed doors, military leaders and scientists worked on plans to hide their activities from alien observers. Outside the Defense Command building, protests grew larger each day. Citizens demanded answers. Why should humanity limit its defenses when the galaxy had proven itself hostile? Politicians debated endlessly. Some wanted to join the Confederation fully, accepting their rules. Others called for independence at any cost. Captain Alex Morgan, now hailed as a hero, walked through one such protest on his way to meet Admiral Kelly. People recognized him, reaching out to touch his uniform or shake his hand. He nodded politely but kept moving. The weight of recent events pressed down on him. 43 alien ships destroyed or disabled. Thousands of alien lives lost. All by his command. In the Admiral's office, Alex found not just Kelly, but also Dr. Cole and Ambassador Ortiz. They were gathered around a holographic display of the solar system. "Captain," Kelly greeted him. "Good timing. We were just discussing your new assignment." Alex raised an eyebrow. "New assignment? The Vanguard is supposed to be decommissioned." "On paper, yes," Dr. Cole said with a small smile. "In reality, we're moving it to a hidden facility in the Kuiper Belt. The Confederation doesn't have detailed maps of our outer system yet." Ambassador Ortiz looked tired. "They're sending an inspection team. They'll arrive in 1 week to verify the Vanguard has been dismantled and to ensure we're not building more ships like it." "And will they find anything?" Alex asked. Admiral Kelly's eyes were hard. "They'll find exactly what we want them to find. Shipyards producing only Threat Category 2 vessels. A decommissioned Vanguard, its gravity lance removed and shields disabled. Decoys," Alex realized. "Precisely," Kelly confirmed. "Meanwhile, your real mission begins. You'll take the Vanguard beyond our solar system, to a location known only to the people in this room. There, you'll rendezvous with civilian ships carrying scientists, engineers, and supplies." Dr. Cole stepped forward. "We're calling it Project Safeguard. A backup plan in case diplomacy fails. A hidden fleet built far from prying eyes." "And if the Confederation finds out?" Alex asked. "War," Ambassador Ortiz said simply, "which is why secrecy is paramount." Alex thought about his crew. The Vanguard has over 200 personnel. That's a lot of people to disappear without raising questions. "We've thought of that," Kelly said. "Officially, the Vanguard crew is being reassigned to various posts throughout the system. In reality, we're giving them and their families a choice. Join the project or take a real reassignment with an enhanced security clearance." Alex nodded slowly. "When do we leave?" "Tomorrow night," Kelly replied. "During the lunar eclipse. The Confederation observers will be focused on our main shipyards." As Alex left the meeting, he thought about what this meant. Humanity was officially complying with the ban, while secretly preparing for a future conflict. It was a dangerous game, one that could lead to Earth's destruction if discovered. But the alternative, leaving Earth defenseless, was unthinkable after what they had seen. In the secret facility beneath the Mariana Trench, work continued day and night. Dr. Cole's team had already designed improvements that would make the Vanguard look like a child's toy. The prototypes were nearly ready for testing. The ban had only made humanity more determined. 5 years passed. To all outward appearances, humanity had complied with the Confederation's ban. Observer teams regularly inspected Earth's shipyards, finding only the allowed threat Category 2 vessels under construction. The Vanguard had been officially decommissioned, its parts supposedly recycled for civilian use. Admiral Kelly, now with more gray in her hair, stood in the observation deck of Earth's largest space station. Next to her was Ambassador Ortiz, recently returned from another Confederation meeting. "They're beginning to trust us," Julia said. "We've been granted increased trading rights. Some species are even proposing we become full members within the next decade." Kelly nodded. "Good. The longer they believe we're harmless, the better." What the observers couldn't detect were the microscopic nanites embedded in each compliant ship. Dormant systems that, when activated with a simple code, would transform these ordinary vessels into weapons nearly as powerful as the Vanguard. Dr. Cole's team had miniaturized the technology, making it impossible to detect with current Confederation scanning methods. Far beyond the edge of the solar system, in a star system with no habitable planets and little to interest passing ships, Project Safeguard had grown. What had started as the Vanguard and a few supply ships was now a fleet of 30 advanced warships. A hidden colony of 50,000 humans lived there, building, researching, and preparing. Captain Alex Morgan, now Admiral Morgan, stood on the bridge of the newest official Earth vessel, the U.S. Diplomat. It was visiting the outer colonies as part of a goodwill tour, at least according to its public mission. In reality, it was delivering updated technology to outposts throughout the system. Beside him, Lisa Winters, now a captain herself, reviewed the latest intelligence reports on her tablet. "The Zonteri are building up forces again," she noted, "and they've convinced 3 other species to join them. Looks like they haven't forgotten their humiliation." Alex wasn't surprised. The Zonteri had lost face in the Confederation after their defeat. It was only a matter of time before they tried to restore their honor. "Any movement toward our space?" he asked. "Not yet," Lisa replied. "But intercepted communications suggest they're planning something big. The word revenge comes up frequently." Alex looked out the viewport at the red dust of Mars below them. The colony there had tripled in size over the past 5 years. New cities under protective domes, farms producing food for Earth and the other colonies, children who had never known life under an open sky. All of it vulnerable if Earth's defenses failed. "Send a coded message to Safeguard Base," he ordered. "Alert level yellow. Have the stealth satellites around the outer system increase their scan frequency." Lisa nodded and moved away to send the message. Alex continued to stare at Mars, thinking about how much had changed. Before the Vanguard, humanity had been focused inward, fighting among themselves over resources and ideology. Now, they were united against a common threat from beyond. The Confederation had banned their warship, thinking it would keep humanity controlled. Instead, it had forced them to become more innovative, more secretive, and ultimately more dangerous. In his private lab on Safeguard Base, Dr. Cole put the finishing touches on his newest creation. It wasn't a weapon or a shield. It was a small device that, when activated, would create a field making any ship completely invisible to all known detection methods. "Perfect stealth," he whispered as the simulation showed successful results. With this, human ships could move undetected through Confederation space. They could gather intelligence, position assets, and, if necessary, strike without warning. Back on the Diplomat, Alex received a message from Earth. The Confederation Council had scheduled another inspection, this time without prior notice. Their ships would arrive in 3 days. They suspect something, Lisa said. Alex shook his head. They're being cautious, not suspicious. There's a difference. He smiled slightly. Prepare for inspection. Make sure our guests see exactly what we want them to see. As the Diplomat cruised past Mars, its ordinary exterior gave no hint of the revolutionary technology sleeping within its hull. The nanites waited, dormant but ready. The crew went about their duties, playing their parts in humanity's greatest deception. Let them come, Alex thought. The Confederation had banned their warship because they feared what they could see. They should be more worried about what they couldn't.